Okay, Barry, we can start.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. We apologize that this is not going to be a live webinar, but hopefully this recording will give you all the information you need. My name is Barry Eno Van Fleet. I am the program manager for the Workers' Compensation Office here at the Vermont Department of Labor. The majority of our presentation today will be given by the EBICS team, but I'm going to be here to fill in some state-specific details on who we are, how we work, and where you can find all the most up-to-date information. So if we go to the next slide, this is our agenda for the meeting today. It'll be fairly self-explanatory. And so you know there will be a Q&A session at the end, or rather there was planned to be a Q&A session at the end. Now what we'll ask is that you submit your questions after you view this recording, and we will write up our responses and make them available as an FAQ document on our website. So the next slide, I'll introduce myself again, Barry Van Fleet. I am also joined by Trudy Smith, who is our vocational rehabilitation specialist, but she is also our EDI specialist. She has put in many, many years of work on this project and is our resident expert on our data and how to appropriately use EDI version 3.1. Also, I believe joining us is Drew Elwood. He is the project manager for the Vermont Department of Labor and spearheading this particular project. And from the EBICS team, we have Manoj Kalita, who is the EBICS Client Services Manager, and Karen Eaton, who is the Director of Development. And they are both wonderful, strong members of this team that we couldn't have come this far without. So I'm going to hand it over to them now, and I will rejoin you in a few slides for some more information.
Thank you, Barry. So what we want to do here is let you know what is changing so that you're prepared for the implementation of IAIABC Release 3.1 for Vermont. Currently, Vermont is accepting Release 1.0 and receiving emails, phone calls, faxes. So that will change. There will be no more emailing or phoning claims in. The Release 1.0 filings will no longer be accepted, and VDOL will start collecting supporting documentation for EDI filings via Secure File Transfer Protocol, SFTP. So the Department of Labor will be changing to using the IAIABC XML file format. So VDOL stops accepting transmissions via the Release 1.0 version. That will happen effective October 31st, 2023. On November 6th, 2023, VDOL will require electronic reports via Release 3.1. And again, that is in IAIABC XML file format. The electronic filing of FROIs will be expected, and SHROI reporting will also be expected. Both are mandatory via XML file format. If you are new to EDI, there are many resources available. Vermont website has resources available. So all of the EDI requirements are available on the Vermont website. In addition, the IAIABC offers resources available to get you ready for the EDI filings. There are also training opportunities. You can subscribe to the IAIABC training subscription, and that will walk you through step-by-step the requirements for using the IAIABC standard. You can also view online the IAIABC R3.1 implementation guide. That is available to members, and it can also be purchased by non-members. And the IAIBC staff is available to answer questions. So you can send questions directly to the IAIBC staff. Now, talking about the Vermont implementation and timeline, the Vermont team will be moving to the IAIBC release R3.1. This timeline is available on the state's website. The key dates are the last filings for release 1.0 will be received on October 31st by 6 p.m. Eastern Time. There will be a quiet period where any filings that are not processed at the end of the release 1.0 cutoff, those will be processed in release 3.1 format at go live date. So there will be a quiet period where filings will not be processed until the first day the state's release 3.1 system is online and begins processing on Monday, November the 6th. Any claims that are received by trading partners during the quiet period should be reported in release 3.1 format beginning at go live, November the 6th. Again, the final release 1.0 filings are due on October 31st, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. The final release 1.0 state acknowledgements will be received by trading partners by Thursday, November the 2nd. The first release 3.1 state acknowledgements will be received by trading partners by Thursday, November the 9th. Vermont has notified all trading partners to re-register with the state in order to submit 3.1 EDI filings. Every employer that is subject to Vermont's workers' compensation law must submit EDI transactions to the state. The trading partner agreement is found on the VDOL website at the URL listed on this slide. Any questions can be sent to the VDOL EDI coordinator at VDOL-EDI coordinator@ebics.com. The trading partner agreement is between VDOL and the sender of the claim data. So the trading partner agreement identifies the entity who is submitting the EDI filings to the state. And one agreement is expected for each sender. The sender is identified by the federal tax ID and the mailing postal code. So those are all of the details for getting started with the EDI filings. Varian is going to talk about where you can find all this information on the VDOL website.
Right, so I think the next slide is going to show the workers' compensation website. That is a general landing page for all information regarding our office. Most importantly, in every section, there is a contact us page that gives instructions on how to identify the specialist assigned to a particular claim and how to contact them directly. You'll see circled down there is the WCEDI section. You go to the next slide, that's the Workers' Compensation Electronic Data Interchange Information page. And that's where you're going to find information specific to EDI, our state-specific requirements, and some other resources. I believe we'll see on the next slide, you can access our state-specific implementation guide. You can access the requirement table, event table, and edit matrix to see our state-specific requirements. You can get in touch with EBICS, the EBICS EDI coordinator, which is a great source for most questions. And there's also information on the testing plan there. There should be a link to this WC EDI section in the left-hand navigation pane on our workers' compensation website. And back to Ken.
Thank you. Thank you, Barian. All right, so to get started, testing is required. So this information is going to walk you through the testing details. One of the documents available on the state's website is the test plan document. It gives the details about what to test and how to submit the test data. Testing for Vermont EDI R3.1 is currently in progress. Testing is required to become certified to submit production filings starting on the VDOL R3.1 implementation date of November the 6th. The test plan includes testing for first reports of injury and subsequent report of injury. It's recommended to use actual claim data to compare that data to the state system and receive accepted UR filings. So note that the test implementation date in the test system is March 1st, 2023. For testing purposes, any claims with date of injury before March 1st, 2023 is considered a legacy claim, and that's only for testing purposes. More about the definition of legacy claims will be provided later in this webinar. For the Freud test plan, there are 2 test batches to send to Vermont. The first batch has 14 Freuds, and the second batch has 11 Freuds. We'll go through the list real quick for the Freuds. The first 14 are 4 Freud OOs, expecting a TA on those, a transaction accepted. 1 Freud OO with multiple body parts. 1 Freud OO to cause a TR with missing required data. 1 Freud OO to cause a TR with invalid data content. Continuing with that Freud first batch, 1 Freud 04 denial to obtain an accepted acknowledgement. 1 Freud 04 to cause a TR for missing data element. 4 Freud URs, update reports to migrate the data from R1.0 to R3.1 to obtain an acceptance. 1 Freud UR to cause a TR with invalid data. And then for the Schroy testing details, there are 3 Schroy batches. We won't go through all of them. The first batch is 16 Schroys. The second batch is 12 Schroys. And the third batch is 5 Schroys. For example, the first Schroy batch is 16 subsequent reports, 5 for Schroy UR, 9 for Schroy IP, 1 for Schroy EP, and 1 for Schroy CD. For testing, it will be very helpful to become familiar with the state's reporting requirements, and Manoj Kalita will now give a high-level overview of each of the EDI tables.
Thank you, Karen. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to explain you about the EDI requirement, EDI documentation. So there are 3 types of document available in the state website. First one is state event table, which explain you what are the filing state expects. The second one is state element requirement table. It shows the data elements required for each and every filing. The third one is stage edit matrix document. So it explains in which order you have to submit your filings. It will also tell you the state's population restrictions rule, the valid values of each DN, and some of the DN error messages. So right now we are on state event table, and the current snap of this table is FROI tab. So the column C, it shows what are the MTCs, that is maintenance type code, accepted by the state. That's the trigger value, which shows when to trigger that particular maintenance type code. So on this, in this case, if we are looking at FROI OO, it says that 3 days after date of injury. So it should be reported within the 3 days of date of injury. So next slide. So in this slide, we are going to tell you about the UR. So here, FROI UR. So FROI UR is required to submit for all open and reopen claims on or before 5/23/2024. And please mark this date because this is mandatory for all open and reopen claims. The deadline is 5/23/2024. So this is required on all legacy claims where date of injury is in between 1/1/2000 to 11/5/2023. So next is FROI. So after FROI, FROI UR should be the first filing for all legacy claims. Next slide. So here we are talking about the element requirement table. So it explains what are the MTCs, FROI MTCs required or accepted by the state. That one is highlighted in circle red, that FROI OO, FROI O1, FROI O2, FROI O4, FROI AQ, FROI AU, and FROI UR. The lower section, it indicates the data elements. It listed all the data elements. And whatever the value needed for each and every MTC, that it's marked by some legends. For example, DN12. It is mandatory for FROI OO. And some of the DNs are mandatory conditions. So what are the conditions? Mandatory conditions, those are explained in next tab, that is FROI condition requirement tab. So under FROI O2, there are some bifurcations like which data element can be added, updated, delete, and removed on each and every MTC. So if it is Y, that means that can be, if it is marked as Y under update column, that means that particular DN can be updated via FROI O2. For example, DN13, it is marked as Y under update column. So user can update that DN value via FROI O2, but it cannot be added because it is marked as N. So next slide. So this is the FROI conditional requirement tab where it explains why that particular data element is mandatory conditional. So there are two conditions defined in the document. One is business condition and another one is technical condition. So business condition is applicable for business people who are filing the claims. And technical conditions is the claim technical person who is working on the claim to sending the files to the state. So the similar thing is applicable for SROI data element and SROI conditional data element. So in next step, the SROI data element are listed there, and after that SROI conditional data elements are listed there. What are the mandatory conditions, why those data elements are mandatory, in which condition those are mandatory, all are listed. So next slide. So this is the data element requirement, the mandatory and exceptions. Conditions are listed here. So we have a special conditions for SROI and FROI-O2 data elements, and those are listed in the state element requirement table, that is FROI-O2 exceptions and under SROI-O2 exceptions. And there are certain exceptions for add, update, remove, and delete activities. Next slide. Okay. Now we are on event table. So here, okay, sorry, we are on edit matrix table. So here, the state defined what are the valid values accepted for each and every DN numbers. So this sheet shows, valid value table shows the applicable data element values. For example, DN39, the valid values are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Some of the values are highlighted in gray out because those are not applicable or not accepted by the state. The next step shows valid value detail page 1 and 2. This explains further about this valid value of these DNs. The third one is our match data element. So these match data elements checked by the state system whether the claim coming in the system is matched with whatever we have in the state system or not. So if it found mismatch, then the state will reject those filings. And one more thing, to update any match data element via FROI-O2 or SROI-O2, only one match data element changes are accepted per O2 MTC. So this edit matrix also listed the DN error message, which are applicable for certain DNs, and those are marked as L. L means those are required, and if those are not matched, then state will reject those filings. The last one is population restrictions rule. This rule shows how the data elements should be populated on each and every MTC filings. Next slide. Okay, now passing it to Karen.
Thank you, Manoj. So to give a little more clarity on the legacy claim definition, a legacy claim in production is any claim that is date of injury, which is DN0031, between 1/1/2000 and 11/5/2023. The legacy claim is open or reopen status, and the legacy claim for first filing is FROI-UR. So for filing the FROI-UR, you'll need to include the existing state file number, which is what you received in release 1.0 in DN0005. The state will be sending a new jurisdiction claim number in DN0005 when you receive the state acknowledgement for release 3.1. and that is the JCN that should stay with the claim for all future filings. The state will send a state-generated employee security ID, which is DN0206, in the state acknowledgement. That value is also to stay with the claim for all future filings. And as mentioned earlier, the legacy claim reports are due by May 23rd, 2024. Note that a closed legacy claim is not due by May 23rd, 2024. Closed legacy claims that reopen must have the first filing as FROI UR. Continuing with data to report, this is new. Vermont is now accepting supporting documentation via the SFTP site. This requirement to send supporting documentation currently exists. The change is that documents will be expected via SFTP instead of being submitted via USPS mail or email. The VDOL EDI coordinator has all of the details about the state's SFTP site. So feel free to reach out to VDOL EDI coordinator at ebix.com. The list of documents required is found in Vermont's Claims Release 3.1 Implementation Guide. The first column in the list shows the MTCs that require supporting documents. The remaining information in the table tells the form ID, the name, and the form contents. Now for ways to report EDI filings to the state. There are 3 ways to get that done. You can report directly by filing the XML claim file to the state's SFTP site. In order to do that, contact the VDOL EDI coordinator for direct connection details. Also, filing via an EDI service provider. The EDI vendors are listed on the state's website. The third is low filers. They have the option to file via the state's web portal. A low filer are those trading partners who submit 10 or fewer claims annually. For low filers, the steps to get access to the state's portal are to first contact the VDOL EDI coordinator, and then the Vermont staff reviews claims volume to approve access. Then the state portal allows manual data entry for FROI and SHROI submissions to Vermont. The state acknowledgements are processed and made available in the portal. So review the acknowledgements, and if needed, make corrections if any filings are rejected. The portal also provides functionality for low filers to submit supporting documentation. For XML file submissions, once approved, the files will be placed on the VDOL Secure SFTP site. Place those files daily by 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern Time for that day's processing. Then watch for the daily state acknowledgement files to be returned, which are returned within 24 hours. Timely responses to those state acknowledgements are encouraged. Likewise, submitting the documents to VDOL, use the file naming convention that's available in the VDOL R3.1 implementation guide. Place those documents in the identified folder for on the VDOL SFTP site using the credentials that you have received from the VDOL EDI coordinator. To be prepared for go live, these are the next steps. Go ahead and complete testing, become certified, prepare to stop sending the R1.0 transactions on 10/31/2023. Prepare to begin sending R3.1 transactions on 11/6/2023. Prepare to send those legacy claim submissions, and you're ready to go. Thank you for attending this webinar. Any questions that you have, please send those to VDOL EDI coordinator@ebix.com.